Hello, hello, my good friends. Welcome to episode number 18, titled How I Arrived into the Real Estate Business. Let's get started. After the opening of Les and Joe's Boutique in 1969, it didn't take us long to realize that we had miscalculated our clientele. Now, we knew that we had an uphill challenge. We knew that this would be a difficult task, as mentioned in episode number 17. But what we failed to see, what we failed to realize was the magnitude of that challenge. We had done our research. We actually thought we had everything together. We had sent our vision letter to our Congressman Jerome Waldie. We sent the vision letter along with the plan to implement the vision to SBA and the Wells Fargo Bank there on 10th and McDonald. So they viewed the vision, they viewed the plan, and they thought it was a good vision. They thought it was a good plan. So they approved our loan for $50,000. So you could just see that that gave us an added confidence that we had it all together. We had retained a great African-American attorney, Henry Ramsey Jr. He would help us to navigate through the policy changes within the city of Richmond. We also retained a reputable professional accounting firm, the Alphonse Deroux and Associates, to help us stay on track financially and to do those type of things for us in that field. And as I mentioned in episode number 17, the Levi Strauss and Company, they are located in San Francisco. They provided us with a marketing director, Lonnie Poindexter, who would help us in the technical part of the marketing. So you can see we really thought we had it all together. We had hired and trained two young people from Kennedy High School, Booker Baker Jr. and Annette Langston. Booker Baker Jr. would go on to be, in my opinion, one, if not the best clothing salesman in the city of Richmond and throughout the entire Bay Area. Married his childhood sweetheart, Deborah Rollins. And that Langston, she went on to become a registered nurse. And she married her childhood sweetheart, the deceased, the late Henry Hornsby Jr., who was a firefighter here in the city of Richmond. I think he was also a battalion chief. So you could see we actually thought we had it together. But now, before I conclude with the Les and Joe's story, I would like to add two other businesses there on McDonald Avenue and put them under the umbrella of what happened and why it hasn't. The next business was operated by my good friend, and good friend even today. And in my opinion, again, he's one of the best business entrepreneurs in the entire city of Richmond that I had the honor and the opportunity to grow up with, and that friendship still exists today. And that is Carl D. Adams. He opened up a record shop and a creamery right in the next block with Les and Joe's, and he named it after his oldest son, Armando's. So that, and I could just remember going through my mind that when his father would come and visit him, he would always come to Les and Joe's and have encouraging words to Lester and me. So we just strived on that, and we really loved it. But what happened and why hasn't? Now, the next business, you may remember Marlon's Jewelry Store. You also may remember Wolf's Jewelry Store. Well, what you may not remember is in Marlon's jewelry store, I think it was located between 9th and 10th and McDonald. That was a young man named Tony Taylor. He's still with us today. And he was working in the accounting department there in Marlon's jewelry store. And next door, or 2 doors away, was the Wolf's jewelry store. And that was a young man named Terry Nix. He was by far the best salesperson. This young man was sharp. He was intelligent, and he had the gift of the gab. Terry Nix could go. And I have the opportunity even today of his 2 sons, Lamont and Darius, my nephews. You could see the similarities between the father and the mother, Louise, my sister. But when we look at this, they open up a store right next door from Les and Joe's, and it was called Delane's Jewelry Store. Look, I want to tell you, this was a first-class jewelry store. So I want to leave you with, think about it. In 1970, they opened up. 2 men with different talents saw the need to merge together and open up a class business. And I ask you, and this would probably, I want you to just continue to think, what happened and why hasn't? Some younger people have never heard that it was an African-American jewelry store owned by African-Americans here in the city of Richmond. So the question is, what happened and why hasn't? Now I want to continue and conclude the story on Les and Joe's. Looking at that struggle with the challenge that we had, then the challenge actually multiplied. It multiplied to the point that this was the time when the downtown Richmond was changing and Hilltop was developing, and so then the streets were torn apart. It was called beautification. At the same time, the whole entire McDonald Avenue was closed off. So you know, you just don't be prepared for everything. So in addition, with the challenge that we had regarding moving up and getting better, it reminds me, I had a similar challenge. And you may remember I'd said to you that it didn't take us long to realize that challenge. Well, the reason that it didn't take as long is because I had a similar challenge in episode number 9. You may remember when I had just graduated from Barber College, and what I thought I was building up on a business that I had already built. Keep in mind now that I had provided myself with clothing, tuition, schooling, all 2, 3, 4 years of building up a business. So I actually thought that I would be building up on a business that I already built. Now, the major difference is, at that time, I was living home with my parents. Didn't have any real responsibilities. Even though I was a father at the time, my parents were taking on that responsibility. And at the time, it took time to catch on. But so I didn't have the same, but now with Les and Joe's in 1972, we filed bankruptcy. Went in, opened up business in 1969, and closed, filed bankruptcy. So you could see that was a big fall. That was a major change. It was unlike an episode number 9 when I was living with my parents. Now I have my own family, I have my own home, and I have 2 children and a wife, and broke. So you could just see that task. But that's a great fall, but it shows also that we have adversity in life. And the question is what do we do about it? What do we do? Now, there are some, and I want to leave you with this before we go into episode number 19, but there are some families that continued on and their children right today are carrying on their legacy. I mentioned Henry Ramsey Jr., where his son, many of you know Charles Ramsey, and his brothers. I think he have a few brothers that's attorneys also, and maybe a physician. So that legacy. John Stewart, who was the founder of Rose Manor here on McDonald Avenue. His daughter, Lydia, carries on that particular one. So we do have a few that we look at to carry on. And then on the ministers, we have the Bernsteins. Alvin Bernstein is the son of when his father was a great pastor here in the city of Richmond. I had the opportunity and the honor of serving with him on the planning commission here in the city of Richmond. The Van Hooks, Samuel Van Hook and his son Marcus came in. So we have a few families that have, and Jeffrey Wright, his father and his mother were real estate brokers. And Jeffrey, many of you, not all of you, would know Jeffrey, and he is sharp as a tack. And he's one of the best, and I still call him today as being my broker. But anyway, I want to leave you with that story. And what I want you to get out of this was the Great Fall. This was a major setback in my life. But the question is, what do you do? Do you roll over and die? Or do you get up and continue to fight? I'm gonna leave that question with you, but I'm looking forward for you to get back with me on episode number 19. The beat goes on. Thank you, and I just enjoy sharing with you. Have a great day.